All right, guys, we'll get this thing going. I think we've got enough of you in here now. Kind of threw me for a loop last week. We had a ton of people show up, and I don't know why, because we still haven't been marketing this thing. So I think I'm going to try to structure this a little more going forward. Try to up my game a bit on these lunch and learns. So today we're going to go through a clear example of a bad LinkedIn funnel. I got a message today from somebody who's been messaging me for the past week, and I just thought it was a pretty clear example of the approach we don't want to take, and then we can highlight the approach that we want to take on LinkedIn just by showing what doesn't work. And I've been working a lot with cold email in BizNexus, and with BN.Digital, we've been really complementing some of our other programs with cold email. So we're going to jump into that. What I think a good cold email strategy is, what's worked for us, and what that roadmap typically looks like, and how it should complement everything you're doing, especially anything on LinkedIn. And then we'll hop into the Q&A. So who am I? Why should you care? I only see a couple new faces in here today, so I'm going to be brief about this, but again, we're recording these and putting them up on the BN.Digital website, so I do kind of have to go through it. Basically, I've been in lead generation for my career, deal origination specifically in business acquisition and sale, and that world has changed. It's continuing to change, especially now in this COVID world that we're in, when everyone's trying to figure out how to kind of automate the top of your marketing funnel, your digital sales funnel, and that's what we talk about week in, week out here when it comes to business acquisition and sale, deal origination. What's the point of all this? Again, it's to go through your primary prospects, to get to your primary prospects for business broker, for buyout, for a search funder, for an individual buyer that's going to be the business owner, but then all of the referral prospects that can deliver that primary prospect on an ongoing basis. So we'll talk a lot about financial advisors, lawyers, accountants, et cetera, on these types of calls. We have different stages that we go through. Each lunch and learn that we have, we'll try to focus on one or two stages to make it concise, to have an actionable takeaway, and fit that into the span of a half an hour. But the end goal of everything that we talk about is to bring your prospects in, make them aware, and ultimately get a real world relationship, right? So when they're ready for your value proposition, whatever that is, whether it's a business valuation, whether it's value building, whether it's something in the financial advisory space, you want to familiarize them with your value prop as it relates to their pain points, and then pull them off of LinkedIn, off of Twitter, off of Facebook, out of your email drip or newsletter into the real world engagement when they're ready for it. As I mentioned last week, we will quickly do a resource update each call. Very quick, the things to be aware of on BizNexus and BN.Digital. With BizNexus, we've had a lot of activity with the boosted listings and the boosted profiles. So if you're a business broker or if you're a provider, make sure you're checking that out. And we've had some really good activity with our advertising. If you're trying to hit that very niche target of a business buyer, someone who's about to buy a new business, 85% of new business owners will just completely revamp their P&L, right? They will change their vendors, they'll change their insurance providers, they will change their accountants, lawyers, et cetera, when they buy a new business. So that's a really desirable target, and we have direct access to them on BizNexus. BN.Digital, we've been doing a lot of the buyer origination, strategic buyer origination in this market, as strategic buyers have been very, very active. And then cold email telemarketing, we're going to get into some of that process that we like today. Whether you do that on your own or with us, just know that we do manage that. BizNexus.com, BN.Digital, those are the two sites where you can get to our services. So today we're going to focus on this building phase of the social selling process. And we're going to start by the bad example of a LinkedIn funnel, right? So like I said, I had a contact approach me today for the third time, and it was just off the mark. And I see it all the time on LinkedIn. 99% of the people out there using LinkedIn are doing it in the wrong way. I always say LinkedIn is a bad channel for being salesy, for closing. You want to make people clearly aware of your value prop, and you can ask for a meeting at the right time. But again, to go through this funnel concept that we've been talking about a few times over the past month, really, a very simple funnel is your top of the funnel messaging. You should be trying to make your prospects curious about what you do and how you solve their pain points. Mid funnel should be enlightenment and education, right? Letting them know how what you do, what's your process, what your service is, how that clearly helps alleviate their pain points. And then you go for commitment. Then you're going to go for the ask. And we cover that process in these calls every week. So the approach that this guy took today, who shall remain anonymous, he basically came in with a vague statement of his value proposition, and it was just transparent, and it was really all about him making the ask. And I'll show you what happened exactly specifically, right? So his first message that came in to me was this, and again, we're protecting his identity because he is a first degree connection to me. And if you're watching this and you're embarrassed, feel free to reach out and we'll just help you with your funnel for free, just because you're the example for today's Lunch and Learn, unfortunately. So this contact, after connecting with me, reached out with a first message. And here, when you open up that message console, again, I want to stress the importance of having a very clear headline. Right? I say this all the time in these Lunch and Learns. You want to speak to the croc brain. You want to, if I'm in line for a cup of coffee, I should be able to tell why you're relevant, what it is that you do very, very quickly according to your headline. And this is why, because when you send that first message, you've got your headline right there, right? And so if I'm going to respond to you, if I'm going to engage with you, that's a big lead in, not just if I'm looking at your profile, but if I'm looking at this message console on LinkedIn, right? Now he came with his first message. He's saying, Adam, I'm a leading platform using cutting edge technology to consolidate spend and give firms to blah, 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 blah. I don't see anything that's relevant to me, right? I don't see any evidence that he knows who I am, what I do, how his solution is applicable to my pain points. It's all about him, and there's zero relevance to me, and he's going straight to the ask, right? He puts his name and contact info and a link to the site right there in the first message. I would not recommend doing that in your first message. Get the conversation going, right? So he's putting the CTA in way too early. I don't even know who he is, and he's going straight to the bottom of the commitment stage of that funnel. You don't want to do that, right? Second message actually came out the same day, which is clear that he's using some sort of bot or an agency. Maybe he's offshoring this, but same day, he's sending me another message, which, especially in these times, you'll often hear me talking about being sensitive to what you're selling, what you're saying, what your messaging is. So when he leads with, first, I hope all is well and you are healthy, exclamation point. I hate that. It's just transparent. He knows nothing about me. We haven't developed any relationship. You see a lot of that in this environment where people are hoping you're safe and healthy. And maybe back in May, that was landing, but right now on August 19th, 2020, it's not. So it comes across as phony. Then again, he's going straight into the ask, and I see zero relevance to me, right? I have no idea why. This is evidence of just general targeting. Again, everything starts with very, very specific targeting. This is all the result of bad targeting. His messaging is not in line with specific targeting, and this is how it comes across. It's just he's killing his brand. Third message comes back a week later. Nothing in the interim. There's been no engagement. I haven't seen any posts on LinkedIn. I haven't gotten hit with an email. I haven't been rolled into a newsletter. There's just been zero education about his value proposition. Nothing has made me curious. But he comes back and he's going straight for the hard ask, right? He actually does put in a clear statement of value proposition here where he's talking about what his product is and what it does. And so that actually does make me curious, but he's already blown it because he's going for the ask, right? He's already proven himself to be salesy. So I'm not listening at this point. But he comes in with a good statement of value proposition. So if this is tweaked, this kind of funnel could actually start working. But right now in its current form, it certainly does not. And then he's going not only for the website visit, but he's clearly putting in a link to a Calendly, to a HubSpot meeting, and that can work, but you have to be careful on LinkedIn that you have gone through those top 2 stages of the funnel before you go for a commit, because LinkedIn, again, for me, I see it as the tip of the spear, right? It's great for targeting. It's great for just getting laser focused on bringing your primary prospects in and your referral prospects, and then educating them about what your value prop is across channels. But if you're blowing the lead on LinkedIn, right, then you're not getting the chance to continue to educate these prospects who are relevant to you if you're doing it the right way. So I went through what was wrong. Briefly, let's just look at what the better LinkedIn funnel should look like. The big takeaway for me here, other than the fact that he hasn't addressed a marketing funnel at all, is the targeting, right? So make sure that your targeting is specific. So if you're, for me, maybe he should have, he probably just targeted business owners, right? He's going for business owners with nothing else, right? Narrow your targeting down. I'm in financial services. I'm in business acquisition and sale. I'm in M&A, right? Is there anything specific to me? He could have started with a connection message that talks about overlap in financial services. And then his follow-up message, instead of this laundry list of publications that he could get me access to, could have been content for financial services, right? Now I'm listening, now I'm curious, it's relevant to me, right? After he connects with me, instead of going straight to the close, he could have tried to start the conversation, right? He could have had a casual reply, and then if there's something relevant about me, he could have mentioned that. And the goal there is just to start and get me to lower my shields, like move me down the funnel, make me open to a conversation and to whatever it is that he ultimately is pitching. Never did that. Posting, engaging with my content, right? I wasn't enrolled in a newsletter. I was not exposed to his posting that hits home to me, right? If you're in financial services, you want access to the Wall Street Journal, to Bloomberg, et cetera, we can lower your pricing, and here's how, right? He didn't send me to an article that clearly states that. And then he never took me off channel, right? Big miss. He started on LinkedIn, and a week later he went for the close on LinkedIn. And, again, no touch on email, no call, no newsletter, no nothing. You want to always have a cross-channel strategy. And that's what we do with our agency. That's what we teach week in, week out here. So that's the LinkedIn funnel. Now this, I'm sure, is overwhelming to look at. But with cold email, we've seen, we incorporate cold email into our programs, right? So we incorporate email outreach, we incorporate phone outreach. You want to touch your prospect across multiple channels in 2020. And that's just because the internet is so noisy, right? There's a lot more competition today than there was 20 years ago. So, they call it the rule of 7, where you should be touching your prospect 7 times before getting in touch with them, before that whole concept is making them aware of what you do, right? Educating them. And then ideally you're connecting when they've already vetted you to a degree. They've seen the social proof on your website, on your LinkedIn profile. They know who you are, what you do. They've seen some referrals, and they're already open to you. And now it's just a question of whether they're ready for your services, right? That's the process that we want to drill home here. So we've seen a lot of business brokers and buyout and individuals. Everyone is trying to figure out this new deal funnel that makes sense in a COVID world, right? I mean, how do you get that relationship? How do you make them aware of what you do and make your prospects comfortable with you, where they would reach out, where they'd be open to the call? That's what this is all about. And email is definitely a part of this, but we always want to incorporate it with LinkedIn, with phone. We don't want separate programs going on, right? You don't want one funnel for LinkedIn that doesn't take into account whatever it is you're doing with email, and vice versa. And with telemarketers especially, you don't just put a foreign VA on your entire network and let them start cold calling your network. We've seen a lot of that, and it's very dangerous for your brand. You want to do this strategically. So we can do a separate lunch and learn on cold email or on email strategy alone. Just let me know in the review when we ask you, whether you like this or not, what your suggestions would be. If you want us to go further into cold email, we can do that. But this is the basic process. This is one strategy, just an example of a strategy to show you kind of how a really well thought out cold email campaign should be working, right? Where if you're leading with email, then ideally you're using a tool, right, that will allow you to do what I'm about to show you. But you want to have a drip. Let's start with, a 3 email drip. That's it, right? Email is direct. It's a good channel to have, the hard ask. You don't want to make email overly complex. You want to get right to the point. You want the people to actually read the email. And then, again, everything that we've talked about with LinkedIn applies to email. You need to get laser focused with your targeting. You need to get personalized with your messaging. You need to make sure you're scrubbing all of your data so you don't have any bounces. Once you've done that, then ideally you have a 3 email drip, right? Maybe the first one is just a statement of your value proposition. This is who I am, this is what I do, contact info, or maybe it's a link to an article, right, that goes more in depth as to how you solve that prospect's particular pain points. Whatever it is, it has to be very specific. If it's an intro video, it shouldn't be a general intro video. It should be an intro video that speaks clearly to the target prospect that you're targeting, right? All of this results in conversions, results in engagements, results in you getting that end contract with your prospect. You have to make it specific to the target, the messaging at every step of the funnel. So with email, you'll send out your first email. And if they open it, right, you have something that you're going for. Maybe you're going for a click. Maybe you're going for a reply. Let's just say it's a reply in this case. If they reply, great, you've got them. If there's no reply, you should send a follow-up email. Now, maybe that's a reply all, kind of circle back. Just want to put this at the top of your inbox, or you send them something helpful, but it's soft, it's a follow-up, it's a reminder. And if they reply there, great, you've got them. If not, then you're sending out another email. Maybe that's like a closeout email. It's a more of a pressure email, right? So I'm closing out your file. I talked a bit about this last week. Something that is designed to get their attention, let them know that you've been trying to reach out to them. And if they are thinking about your product, your service, engaging with you, now's the time to do it because you're about to disappear. Now, if they click, they reply, great, you've got them. If not, here's where I like to make sure that when you're scrubbing your data, right, when you're collecting your data, when you're doing the initial target list, you have all of their social URLs, right? So you can follow up with a LinkedIn invitation. You can bring them into your network. And if they accept, guess where they are? They're now in your LinkedIn funnel, right? So they're in your LinkedIn funnel that already works, right? They're being exposed to your messaging. Maybe you're rolling them over into that newsletter now because you've got them on email, you've got them on LinkedIn, they're aware of who you are, and you can continue to educate them through your newsletter with a clear call to action in the newsletter. Now, if they don't accept your LinkedIn invitation, this is where VA becomes very helpful, right? Because you can, whether it's you, whether it's an intern, whether it's some junior rep in your boutique, you want to call the people who have not engaged, right? They have not accepted, and just make sure that they're aware of your value prop, right? Maybe they're not on LinkedIn. Maybe they didn't open up your emails, so they didn't see your emails. So you're not spamming them. They haven't been getting peppered with your messaging. You know that they have not seen your messaging. You're just keeping track of it, right? And so that's basically the process that I like to do when you're talking about leading with email. You always want to make sure that you're tracking opens, no opens. If somebody doesn't open, you can resend that initial email with a different subject title, but the same body. And then if they don't open, you can do that again. New subject email or new subject line, same body, on and on and on. But you want to make sure that you're monitoring opens, unopens, and that you have those lists separated, right? So that you can then take different actions. And you want to closely monitor all the metrics that matter, right? So what are your bounce rates? What are your open rates, right? The industry standard is 20%. We like to shoot for somewhere around 60. And for that 40% that doesn't open, we're resending with a different subject line, again, shooting for a 60% open rate on that batch, right? And so making sure that you're optimizing your open rates, your conversion rates, your click-through rates at every step is very, very important, and tweaking as you go, right? Always iterating. So that's it. That's what we're doing today. If there are any questions, now's the time to fire away. If not, we'll give it a minute and then we'll do what we always do. We'll close it down. We'll put it up on the site in the next few days. And if you have any feedback, please fire away. We really, we're basing this on feedback. Our clients always have questions and we try to address those questions, but then we have the feedback that comes through the survey at the end of this lunch and learn. Help us help you. We want to make sure this is useful. Otherwise, we will kill it. So, all right, guys. I'm not seeing any questions. So I'm going to close it out there. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Hope it was helpful. Thanks.